All right, I'm gonna double check. We're gonna actually take a roll call so that we can verify that everybody can hear each other. It's Sam Hoyt, and welcome to this meeting of the Economic Development Power Allocation Board. Gene McAndry in St. Lawrence.
Present.
Robert Cattell in Long Island.
Here and accounted for.
Yes, sir. And George Maziarz at the Niagara Power Project.
Present.
All right, everybody can hear each other. Welcome to our staff who are present in various locations, and I want to remind everybody that this is a regular scheduled committee meeting which has been duly noticed as required by our open meetings laws. And I want to call this meeting of the board to order pursuant to EDPAB bylaws Article 3, Section 2. The first item of business is the adoption of the proposed agenda. But before we do that, does anyone wish to offer any amendments to this agenda? Hearing none, we'll move forward with a motion to approve the agenda, please.
So move. Bob Cattell.
Thank you, Bob. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. The motion carries. Next item on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the meeting of March 20th, 2017. Are there any motions to amend the minutes? Hearing none, I want to ask for a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
And a second. Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Hearing none opposed, the motion carries. As always, before we move forward with the agenda, I want to ask my colleagues if anyone has any conflicts of interest that they'd like to raise now.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have one potential conflict of interest. I am on the board of the Development Committee for Winthrop Hospital, and Winthrop Hospital is one of the entities up for expansion, so I will have to recuse myself from voting on that particular item.
Great, thank you for noting that, and staff will acknowledge that when we come to that item. Anyone else? Great, then let's go to the important item on the agenda, number 3, the Recharge New York Power Program allocations, and our friend Keith Hayes will make a presentation about this item. Keith?
Thank you, and good morning, Mr. Chairman, EDPAB members. Today, the board is requested to recommend that the trustees award 24 allocations of Recharge New York large business retention, large business expansion, and small business and not-for-profit based power to 21 applicants. 27 applications were evaluated for this period, all of which were submitted through the state's consolidated funding application system. The applications included both retention and expansion-based power allocation requests, in addition to requests from small business and not-for-profit organizations. As in the past, applications were evaluated on a competitive basis in consideration of the 12 criteria in the Recharge New York legislation. I won't read through the 12 criteria, but some of the key ones include job commitments, capital investment, and an applicant's risk of closure or leaving the state if they were not awarded a Recharge New York power allocation. Each application was evaluated and scored with regional economic development councils providing input by scoring each applicant in their region relative to 2 of the 12 legislative criteria. The council's scores comprise 20% of an application's total score. Prior to today's recommendations, please note that 53.1 megawatts are available to allocate out of 610 megawatts that are set aside for large business retention purposes. 103 megawatts are available to allocate out of the 200 megawatts that are set aside for large business expansion purposes. And 7.9 megawatts are available to allocate out of the 100 megawatts that are set aside for small business and not-for-profit purposes. Today's recommendations consist of 24 allocations totaling nearly 24.5 megawatts of Recharge New York power. This includes the following: 8 large business retention allocations totaling over 6.9 megawatts and supporting nearly 7,000 jobs. Yes, that's 7,000. 7 large business expansion allocations totaling 15.1 megawatts and supporting the creation of over 580 new jobs. And 9 small business and not-for-profit based allocations totaling nearly 2.5 megawatts and supporting close to 3,000 jobs. If today's 24 recommended allocations are approved, 46.1 megawatts will remain available to allocate for large business retention purposes. 87.9 megawatts will remain available to allocate for large business expansion purposes, and 5.4 megawatts will remain available to allocate for small business and not-for-profit purposes. The awarded applicants will be offered Recharge New York contracts for a term of up to 7 years. The contract has provisions for the partial or complete withdrawal of an allocation if the recipient fails to maintain mutually agreed upon commitments relating to, among other things, employment, power utilization, and capital investment commitments. In summary, the board is being asked today to recommend that the trustees approve 24 Recharge New York large business retention, large business expansion, and small business and not-for-profit based power allocations. This item is submitted for your approval. I'd be happy to take any of your questions.
That's great. Thank you, Keith. Do any of my colleagues have any questions? I have a quick question, Keith. I'm looking at Exhibit A and Exhibit B, and not to be a homer, but I'm noticing, unless I'm missing it, that there are no Western New York companies included. Is this being done region by region? Did Western New York and I suppose other regions simply not score well, or am I missing something?
You have one in Exhibit C. Though.
There is one in Exhibit C, actually, Mr. Chairman. Mm-hmm. And with respect to applications, the answer is we had not received the applications in Western New York other than the one I just mentioned. And the reason being is because applicants in Western New York are applying for the Western New York hydropower first. That's typically the path. So I wouldn't read into that, but again, there is one. And we still have Western New York hydropower available for allocation at this time.
Of course.
And actually, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Tomorrow, I am awarding making a recommendation to the trustees to make an award to a Western New York applicant for Western New York hydropower.
Okay. And final question. This all, as you indicated in your comments, goes through the CFA process, which was completed last year at some point. Is this the typical timing of how we roll these out and approve these, or are we somehow behind on that?
It's typically on a quarterly basis, Mr. Chairman. So we're now making recommendations for applicants who applied, somewhere in the first quarter of this year.
Okay. All right. Anyone else have any questions they'd like to pose to Keith at this time?
Keith, I have a couple. One, this program's been going on for some period of time. Can you characterize the level of interest in the program by businesses across the state? And two, whether, I know it's a limited resource, and whether we've tapped out those where electricity cost makes a difference in their operation.
So to answer your first question, Judge, we typically see on the order of 20 to 40, I'm going to say 20 to 40 applicants per quarter. So there's still a lot of interest in the program. Your second question was, are we tapped out on 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 any particular region or any set aside amounts?
No, I just know, whether we have tapped out those industries or businesses where electricity cost makes a difference.
No, I would say we haven't tapped out, and there's still we're seeing a lot of activity in Long Island right now, Judge, where you have the greatest margins between the low-cost hydropower and the market rates. So we're seeing a lot of activity in Long Island right now with respect to and Central New York as well. Again, the chairman's question on Western New York, I just answered. Applicants are typically going for the Western New York hydropower first, and then recharge is usually following that. In the North Country, we have a few applicants, but as you know, Judge, we're deploying an economic development plan at this time, so we'll probably see an uptick going forward. But no particular manufacturing or C&I type customers. We don't think we're tapped out on this program at all.
Good.
Great. May I have a motion to approve the recommendation found in the materials, please?
So move.
Thanks. Is there someone who wants a second?
Second.
Yes.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Thank you, Keith. We're coming right back to you for the transfer of Recharge New York Power and hydropower allocation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next item requests the board to approve the transfers of Recharge New York Power allocations for two customers, each of whom are experiencing business changes necessitating such transfers. Specifically, the transfer of a 786 kilowatt Recharge New York Power allocation from Southern Wine and Spirits of New York Incorporated to Southern Glazers Wine and Spirits of New York LLC in order to address organizational changes. Also, the transfer of 150 kW and 25 kW of Recharge New York hydropower allocations from Southern Wine and Spirits of Upstate New York Incorporated to Southern Glazers Wine and Spirits of Upstate New York LLC, again in order to address organizational changes. The transfers are conditioned on subsequent approval by the authority, will result in no material reduction in the base employment levels and capital investment commitments associated with these allocations, and each will be addressed in contract documents containing such terms and conditions determined by the authority to be appropriate and to effectuate each transfer. This item is submitted for your approval. Again, I would be happy to take any of your questions.
I'll just ask a quick one. Is this just, was the company purchased? Is it just a name change? What are we?
I believe it's just a name change. They're a very large beverage distribution company, throughout the United States and globally for that matter. I believe this is just a name change to the organization, making it a limited liability corporation.
I'll move the resolution.
We have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Keith, as always, thank you for your expertise in presenting and answering questions. Our next board meeting, ladies and gentlemen, is scheduled to be held Monday, September 25th. The Corporate Secretary's office will, as always, contact all of us. Would anyone like to offer any additional business at this time?
Can I ask a quick question
Yes, sir.
of Keith?
Yes.
Keith, on one of these applications for retention purposes, there's an EDO LLC in North Amityville.
Yes.
Is that a duplication, or is that they have two different facilities, or what's the story there?
Yes, those are two separate allocations, Judge. Two separate facilities.
Okay, thank you.
That's a great question. You're welcome.
Good catch, Judge. So before we wrap up, I want to say thanks to the staff, as always, at NYPA for the great work that you do. and wish everybody a happy summer. It's going far too fast. And with that,
I'll second that.
may I have a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
And I
Second.
heard a second. Everybody is in favor. Nobody is opposed. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.